and welcome to the War Hunt Quarterly Investment Update for the 30th of September 2020. My name is Sam Hunt and I'm a Director of War Hunt's Melbourne office. And today I'll be joined with Dr. Steve Garth, who is an independent member of the War Hunt Investment Committee. At War Hunt, we certainly take a very diversified approach to the way that we allocate clients' portfolios towards defensive, being cash and fixed interest, and growth assets, being property and equity. But we also take tilts towards known sources of return. And really those known sources of return have been demonstrated through academic research and empirical evidence that the stock market should give you a better return over the long term than, say, cash or fixed interest. And the evidence bears truth there. The other factor that we really focus on is the company size. That a smaller company, for a whole range of factors, should outperform a larger company over time. And the other piece that we also focus on is relative price, is that a value or an unloved company should outperform a growth type company over time. And really what we do is tilt clients' portfolios to those known sources of return to try and generate a more of a consistent return over time. So Steve, with those sort of three factors in mind, looking at market, company size and relative price, how have those factors panned out both domestically and internationally over the last quarter and over the last 12 months? And what does that then translate into clients' portfolios?
Let me show you the performance of the premiums. So let's start in Australia. The top row there are the Australian premiums over the quarter, and the second row are the Australian premiums over the year. So starting at the top left, as we've already talked about, the Australian market flat for the quarter, just down a little bit. But Australian small caps did quite well. They had a return of 5.9%. So the small cap premium in Australia is a positive 5.8%. That's a strong small cap premium. We'll see a very small negative value premium of minus 1.2%. When we go over the whole year, as we've talked about, the Australian market overall was down by 10%. Now, small caps were also down, but only by 3.3%. In other words, there's a 6.7% small cap premium reflected by that up arrow. Value, though, underperformed again. It did 9.2% worse than the overall market. So its value premium is a negative 9.2%. Going to the global markets and starting at the quarter, the global markets up by 3.8% for the quarter. Small caps had a similar return to that, just down a little bit. So you'll see a very small negative small cap premium and a larger negative value premium. When we look over the whole year, though, where the global markets are up 4.3%, you'll see that the small cap premium is minus 7.7%, and the global value premium is minus 17.9%. Now, remember what we were just talking about with those stocks called the FANGs. They're all high growth stocks, large and growth. And therefore, it's no surprise that small and value are going to underperform in a period where those large growth stocks are doing so extraordinarily well. As we've said before, we don't expect that to continue, but we don't know when the small and value premium will come back in either. We'll say a little bit more about that in a few moments. But let's see how these premiums affects the War Hunt enhanced asset class portfolios. And the first portfolio I'll put up is the defensive portfolio, the 55-45. That means 45% is in fixed interest, and you can see that in the dark blue color on the right hand side. Now you see lots of other colors in that pie chart. They represent the different asset classes: Australian large, Australian value, Australian small, global value, global large, global small, emerging markets. You can see that it's a really well diversified portfolio. Now, when we look at performance, you can see that over the quarter and over the 6 months, there's really a good outperformance over the benchmark. And that's principally due to that strong Australian small cap premium that we talked about. And as well as that, a lot of this portfolio is in the defensive or the fixed interest side. That's done quite well relative to its benchmark. As we go out a bit longer over the year, a bit of underperformance, but after that you see that the portfolio has outperformed its benchmark over different periods. So that's a really good result. The next portfolio is what we call a high growth portfolio, 85-15. That means 85% is in the growth assets, they're the equities, and only 15%, again represented by the dark blue shading in this pie chart, represents the fixed interest assets. So a lot more growth assets here, but once again, you'll see it's a well diversified portfolio. And when we look at the returns, you know, they're pretty good, given the large growth stocks have done so well and these portfolios have a tilt to small and value. You'll see there's a little bit of outperformance there over 6 months. And even though there's underperformance over the year and 3 years, as you go out a bit longer, you'll see the portfolios got very close results to the benchmark. And in fact, going right back to inception, it's outperformed the benchmark. So even though small and value premiums are not doing so well in the current environment, these portfolios are well diversified, and over the long run, even at the worst case, you're getting returns similar to what the capital markets are delivering. And you know, that is a really great outcome, because even though small and value aren't doing so well, these portfolios are positioned to capture those premiums when they come in. So at the moment, you're pretty much getting the return of the capital markets, but you're positioned to capture the outperformance when the premiums kick in.
Steve, from there, what next? What should we be looking at, particularly for that value premium that has underperformed? Is there a historical reference that you can provide us to not so much comfort, but to draw out some conclusions as to what's happened in the past?
Yes, we can certainly have a look at the past and you know, say something about the future, even though of course we can't make any predictions for sure about what will happen. But you know, Sam, well, in Australia, the last 50 years, and if you go back into the US, it's essentially 100 years of data. There's been a strong value premium that exists. In other words, value stocks historically has done better than growth stocks. The chart I'm putting up now, it's called History is on Value Side. And you can see when those green bars going up are when value does better than growth, and the bars going down is when growth has done better than value. And you can certainly see that in recent times, looking at the right-hand side of that chart, that the growth stocks have done better. You can see, we looked at the portfolios and we saw some underperformance going out there at 3 or 5 years. You can see why that is. But it's really important to realize that history says that, look, even though the value premium is unpredictable, it's certainly been there in the long run, and we do expect it to pop back. The story here is, I can't tell you when the value premium will come back in. I can't tell you when the next big green bar going up will happen. But history tells us that it will happen. We just have to wait for it.
Thanks, Steve. So basically, keep the faith. We're not necessarily recommending any specific changes to the exposure to value at this point. That, you know, in all likelihood it will turn around. We just don't know when. So thank you all for attending this presentation. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact your advisor at War Hunt. And until the next update, please stay safe, stay sanitized, and we will speak to you again soon. Thank you.
Goodbye.